Hey, what's up? My name is Chris. I'm a vegan activist from Boston, Massachusetts, and I wanted to take a minute today to make a quick video about effective vegan advocacy for people who are interested in getting involved in the advocacy side of the movement, or for people who are maybe already doing some light activism, but stuff that maybe is not super effective and could be more effective. So this is just me personally offering my opinion, my 2 cents, about how to be an effective vegan advocate. For people who aren't vegan, who might be watching this, veganism is all about reducing the suffering of animals who are exploited for food, clothing. So vegans are people who, omit those things from their lifestyle. We don't eat meat, dairy, don't wear leather, that kind of stuff. Basically, we can survive and live very healthily without any of that stuff. So why would we exploit animals when they're suffering is completely unnecessary. So that's basically what it's all about. What veganism is about reducing the unnecessary suffering and working as efficiently as possible towards the long-term goal of animal liberation. What it's not about, and what some people think it is about, but it's not about personal purity or posturing or bragging rights or self-righteousness. No one cares how many things you don't eat, or it's not about that. It's not bragging rights. Obviously, there are people who are vegan who are into being vegan and saying that they're vegan. I mean, I'm proud to be vegan. I embrace it. But it's not about personal purity. It's not proving who's the most hardcore vegan, who can say I'm part of this cool club. That's not what it's about. Veganism is about working towards reducing the suffering of as many animals as we possibly can. So to begin with the activism stuff, I guess, why activism? A lot of people who are vegan say, I'm vegan, that's awesome, I'm doing my part. That is great. But as individuals, we can come closer to making the change that we want to see long term when we influence the people around us. So our friends, our family, co-workers, classmates, significant others, all these people around us are people that we can have conversations with, influence, and we can have a ripple effect when we turn to activism. So a complete ethic isn't really about reducing our own negative impact in the world. More so, it's about doing everything we can to reduce suffering at large, and we can do exponentially more of that when we turn towards activism. So getting involved and doing stuff, having conversations with people, we'll go into that in a sec. So according to a Gallup poll that was conducted a few years ago, an overwhelming 97% of Americans said that they care about the way we treat animals. The vast majority of those Americans said animals deserve at least some protection from harm and exploitation, and a quarter actually said animals deserve about the same protection as human beings. So if that's the case, why are so many of these compassionate-minded people still eating meat? One of the reasons is that big companies like Tyson, Purdue, they spend millions of dollars every year to keep people in the dark about the truths of animal agriculture. So it's our obligation as vegans to educate the general public so that they can make the connection and extend their compassion, to their dinner plates every night. So I'll get into what our message should be, or what I think our message should be. So for the average American, the word vegan is most likely a pretty foreign thing. And for those not familiar with the concept, with the lifestyle, the word itself might be alienating. So when we're out there doing our activism, I think rather than pushing for everyone we interact with to drop everything that they're doing, drop all their habits that have been ingrained in them for so long, and adopt a vegan lifestyle overnight, I think we should take a more practical approach. So first, maybe find some common ground if you're talking with people. Ask them if they have pets at home, if they've got a cat or a dog, and then from there explain that the animals on factory farms feel pain just the same way. They're social creatures. They have very intricate social structures. They're intelligent. Pigs are just as smarter than dogs, that kind of stuff. Help them make the connection. We make more progress when we plant the seeds of compassionate thinking than when we just bang the drum of veganism without any wiggle room. So I think that's a good approach. Encourage people to simply cut back on their meat consumption. Maybe do Meatless Monday, or just generally, cut back on the meat that they're eating, even a day or two a week. People are exponentially more likely to down the road adopt a vegan diet once they dip their toes into the water this way. We've got to look at things logically and recognize that radical change on a massive scale simply isn't going to happen overnight. We've got to recognize that, change is slow moving. Progress doesn't happen immediately. We have to be patient. And, in doing so, if we encourage people to cut back on their meat consumption, encourage people to go vegetarian before they go vegan, things like this, regardless of whether or not they're going vegan overnight, we're still having a huge impact on, meat and dairy industries, because we're hurting these giant industries where it counts in their wallet. As consumer demand goes down, they see that and it hurts them, and that's a good thing in terms of reducing suffering for animals. So maybe not the most practical approach to tell everyone we interact with to go vegan. Obviously, we'd like them to do that, but I don't think off the bat that's the most practical approach. Talk to them about cutting back on their meat consumption. Feel free to have a conversation about veganism. Educate them about the lifestyle we lead. Some people might be down to just go vegan, but we think we have to be open-minded and consider things practically when we interact with people. So my approach to animal welfare is the utilitarian approach, which basically at its core is about maximizing happiness and reducing suffering. So applied to animal liberation, this means focusing on factory farms. Most animals who are harmed in the United States are killed and slaughtered on factory farms. In areas like vivisection, animals abused in circuses and marine parks and stuff, those are all worthy causes, very noble, worthy of our attention. But if we want to be pragmatic, it only makes sense to focus our efforts on factory farms, because the number of animals killed on factory farms shadows circuses, animals in laboratories exponentially. Factory farms are the bulk of animal suffering in the United States. So if we want to have the biggest impact, that's where our focus needs to be. So I'll get into some types of activism. If you don't have a ton of free time, you can do some online activism. I see this stuff on Tumblr and on Facebook and on Twitter. You can share videos like Farm to Fridge, Meet Your Meat, Earthlings, all that stuff. Posting pictures, interacting with people online is a great thing to do. You can also get media attention, do demonstrations and protests outside circuses, outside SeaWorld, stuff like that. You can get involved in talking to your elected officials about legislation that's pertinent to animal rights. For me, the thing I encourage people to do, and it's super easy to do, anyone can do it, is leafleting, which is basically going out to the streets and passing out booklets to individuals. You can do this at college campuses. You can do this at crowded areas in your city or town, concerts like Warped Tour, just any event where there's going to be, or any area where there's going to be a lot of foot traffic, and you can get these booklets out. It's super easy, it's very effective, and it's something that pretty much anyone can get involved in. Even if you have a spare hour once a week to go out and do this, it really does make a change in terms of reducing suffering for animals. So a leaflet is a pamphlet you see, a little book, and it's got a lot of info in there that's really quick to the punch and easy to understand. So good places to go to: colleges, concerts, that kind of stuff. Keep track of stuff that's coming through your town, mark it on your calendar, and you can get out there and get thousands of leaflets out in an afternoon. Good tip is to get in a crowded spot where you can just extend your arm and say info about helping animals. People will take a booklet. It's good to go out with friends. Definitely have strength in numbers when you can stand across a sidewalk and both be passing stuff out. So that's something that I would definitely recommend getting involved with. So in terms of our approach to activism, one main thing that I would like to focus on is our attitude. I think attitude is everything. I think optimism and likability are super important. Obviously, I recognize that feeling angry, upset, and sad about the suffering that we're fighting is more than justifiable. I don't think there's a compassionate person alive who would say that those feelings aren't justified. However, when we put on our activist hat and hit the streets, we've got to check those feelings at the door. We've got to be upbeat. We've got to be happy. We're interacting with people and we're a face for the movement, so we've got to conduct ourselves accordingly. Regardless of our ability to justify our negative feelings, we've got to ask ourselves, what's going to be the most tactful approach and helping the greatest number of animals. Any good activist will tell you being positive and upbeat is infinitely more effective when it comes to doing outreach than being self-righteous, being angry, and conducting yourself in that manner. You've got to remember, everyone we encounter, every single person we talk to, is a potential victory for animals. So we have to consider that always and make sure that we're conducting ourselves accordingly. Another thing to consider is dressing for success. So, like it or not, people judge us based on the way we look. We judge people on the way they look. It's just human nature. It's something that happens. And like it or not, our outward appearance has a pretty profound impact on the way people perceive us. Someone might look at us passing out leaflets from 20 feet away and decide, no, I'm not going to deal with that person. So this is something we've got to consider. Plenty of people in the movement, more radically minded people, have a lot of countercultural aesthetics. You can tell I'm covered in tattoos, I have piercings, colored hair, whatever. These kind of aesthetics can either help or hurt our activism depending on the circumstances that we're in. So if I'm going to Warped Tour, this year I had my shirt off or I had a tank top on, all my tattoos were out. It was great. I passed out I felt like a million leaflets. Everyone was taking them. It was great. If I'm going to a college campus, I might, not be as showy with my tattoos. Maybe I'll wear a hoodie. If I'm sitting down with a local legislator, you bet your butt that I've got a button down on. My tattoos are covered. I've got a tie on. I look professional. The attitude that this compromise is somehow selling out is just juvenile. We've got to think, what do the animals need, and how can we be most effective? And if that means a small compromise in what we're wearing for an afternoon, that's going to be the compromise that we've got to be willing to make. We're in this for the animals who are dying every day on factory farms. We've got to put our personal aesthetics aside, and do what the animals need. So that's something to bear in mind. I know I can definitely be a stubborn person, especially, when I was younger. I'm still fairly young, but, sometimes we've got to put that stuff aside and, do what we can to maximize our efficiency as advocates for animals. The next thing I'd say is prepare and practice. Know your facts. Know your frequently asked questions. People are going to ask you, like, what do you eat? Do you eat anything other than salad? Where do you get your protein? As vegans, we get these questions every single day. We should know what to expect when we're going to be engaging with the public. We know the answers to these questions. So like I said, just be prepared. You know what people are going to ask. Make sure you have a good answer. Next, don't lose your head. When you go out and leaflet, most of the people you encounter are going to be super friendly and positive, are at the very least, quiet, calm, respectful, reserved. But with anything, it's inevitable that we're going to encounter a few jerks. When that happens, you really just kind of have to, take it with a grain of salt, take it as what it is, and learn to brush it off, because we can't respond in a negative manner. When you get someone who says, oh no, I like steak, yada, 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 it's crucial that we maintain our composure and always conduct ourselves respectfully. Whether or not you feel that's warranted, we've got to put that stuff aside and, maintain our composure. Remember, when you're out there doing activism, you are a face for the animal rights movement. You represent the entire movement. So if someone has a really negative interaction with you, they're going to associate that negative interaction with animal rights across the board or activists across the board. So, the stuff isn't worth getting worked up over. And, if you respond negatively or aggressively, it's just going to be detrimental to our progress as a movement, and it's going to be hurting the animals, not helping them. So something to bear in mind. Just got to learn to keep your cool, brush that stuff off. We want people to associate veganism and animal rights with happy people, not angry people. So lastly, if you want to get involved, don't wait. Now's the time. Every minute that we're sitting around is a minute we could be out helping animals. So some groups I'd recommend contacting are Vegan Outreach. You can find them on veganoutreach.org, or the Humane League. They've got a lot of offices all over the country. They do a lot of this grassroots kind of leafleting work, and they're always happy to have volunteers, as is really any animal rights organization. If I know for a fact, if you email PETA, they're more than happy to just send you boxes of leaflets right to your doorstep. So, if you're somewhere and you just want to get out there and leaflet, they'll send them right to you and you can make that happen. Also, a book I would recommend is the Animal Activist's Handbook. It's only like 100 pages long. It's an easy read. It goes over a lot of the stuff I just talked about in depth and really reinforces these ideas. I would definitely recommend that anyone who's interested in animal rights activism read that book. It should be your Bible. So I guess in summation, if you're vegan, awesome. That's great. That's something to be proud of. But recognize that we can be doing a lot more than making our own individual choices. When we get out there and get engaged in activism, we can be making exponentially more of an impact and doing a lot more for animals than we're doing currently. So take your vegan lifestyle to the next step. Embrace activism. The animals who are suffering every single day, every single minute, every second, they need us. So we have to maximize our potential, get out there and make a positive change in the world.